The 2000s of Japanese street fashion were some of the most tumultuous years. The economic downturn of the next 10 years will leave Japanese street fashion in a bit of flux as less money was available and cheaper alternatives were becoming more commonplace. However, this is when Western brands and department stores would finally have an end. So we're going to cover that today. I'm your boy Reggie Casual from thecasual.co, and this is the history of Japanese street fashion, the 2000s and beyond. As the 90s set the stage for the various styles in Japan, the 2000s marked a time of extreme coordination. The second vintage boom hit massively, and while certain styles were certainly in vogue in the 2000s, the mark of the Japanese fashionista was one of personal detail. Customization and finding the perfect piece was more important, and also responsible shopping took precedent. This led to a more subdued look among many of the 1980s babies who took the reins of fashion in the early 2000s, in a movement dubbed Select K, as select shops like Beams introduced bigger floor space and secondhand offerings on upper floors. Other stores would begin to follow suit, mixing vintage, secondhand, and new items on the same retail floor. Thus, mixing and matching became commonplace, and lifestyle took over as the defining factor in street fashion. It's the reason the 90s were so groundbreaking in Japan, for it laid the groundwork in introducing Japanese to new lifestyles, and most of the styles in the 2000s were rehashes, remixes, and a deeper understanding of the styles that came before them. Skater styles hit Japan following the opening of Supreme in 1998 in Daikanyama, Osaka, and Fukuoka. 3 locations for Supreme in the same year, marking the most Supremes in the world in one country. But it didn't stop there. 2006 in Harajuku, 2008 in Nagoya, and finally the last 2012 in Shibuya. The sheer amount of Supreme brick and mortar locations baffled many of the Western fans as to why so many hit Japan. But due to Supreme setting up a franchise agreement with a Japanese company, they were able to open multiple stores under different management. But the game was the same. Every launch was a sellout. As a result, Supreme laid the groundwork for other Western brands to gain incredible popularity in the 2000s. Silas, Stussy, Huff, and many others made a home in Japan, marking the first time in Japanese history that so many Western brands directly made flagships in Japan outside of selling in typical select stores. But it wasn't all about skate. On the other end of the spectrum, Heidi Slimaine's creative direction of, excuse the bad French, but Dior Homme became huge for men in Japan, and the number of slim-fitting men's silhouettes became vogue. Rehashes of grunge for men became big again. Military mix for women made a hit with slim bodyline silhouettes with drab functional pieces that seemed to mix in the French casual as well, also became quite popular. The entirety of the 2000s to the 2010s became a remix of the styles before it. Native styles for women went bohemian. Harajuku Kogyaru Amura went LA celeb. Men adopt 2 extremes of style, some mercilessly simple like the advent of Daisuke Obana's North Hollywood. Others incredibly distinct and complicated like the electro style centering around pieces like that from Kenzo. The rude style for men and the parallel amakara style for women were influenced by the 1970s gangster style, mixing in riders' jackets and brands like Wacko Maria, which were getting a bit more spotlight. And as the economy improved, high-end luxury brands became more desirable. It's at this point when Western fashion blogs and online magazines can now look to Japan for fashion content and inspiration. And as a result, celebrities and influencers from the West, seeing the fashion diversity of Japan, begin to frequent the country, allowing for Japan to receive maximum exposure. From neo-ametra styles for men to morigirl styles for women in the mid-2000s, Japan becomes this bastion of style and fashion. And by 2008, department stores began to want in on that action. Uniqlo and The Gap began opening stores in droves in central Tokyo. H&M, Topshop, Forever 21, American Eagle, and more began offering fast fashion at reasonable prices. Soon, everyone interested in fashion in Japan has access to the hottest styles of the day. Add in a little bit of Japanese fashion bravery, and you have virtually every style imaginable with a bit of special sauce. By the end of the 2000s into the 2010s, Japan and its capital city of Tokyo uniquely become identified as a place where street fashion wins the day. It's arguably the street fashion capital of the world, not simply because of the styles represented on its most fashionable corridors, but because it becomes the only place in the world where you can get nearly all the popular Western collections and brands, plus the Japanese counterparts, making Japan a bucket list for anyone interested in fashion. Japan also becomes this place where lifestyles and trends are reimagined. Quite often, Japan's take on a particular style becomes remixed to the point where a new trend is made. Neo-grunge, normcore, and luxury styles change in Japan due to the aesthetic. And key designers like Junya Watanabe, Jun Takahashi, Miharu Yasuhiro, Chitose Abe, Takahiro Miyashita, and many more maintain the Japaneseness which is necessary for that particular fusion to take place. And it's incredibly hard to imitate. The most important take of the 2000s of fashion in Japan is the restlessness and the courage of trying anything. And thus the conversation became, is Japan simply better at style and fashion, or are we just taking notice? But that's not a conversation the Japanese involved in fashion want to have. In their view, community harmony is more important than competition. Most tastemakers today appreciate the opportunity to collaborate with brands from the West, further impressed by the rawness of Western attitude and lifestyle. Even sneakers would experience a second boom, with Jordans leading the way and subsequently every hype launch following. Japan's special remix, however, was with casual shoes like Stan Smith's, Puma Clydes, and Vans, becoming so popular that Japanese exclusives are commonplace. But changes in society in the early mid-2010s marked different attitude towards fashion among enthusiasts and even tastemakers. Nigo would leave Bape in 2011 and sell it to the Hong Kong conglomerate IT. Hiroshi Fujiwara would become the gold maker. Western celebs like Pharrell Williams would open brands like Billionaire Boys Club with Nigo. Japanese graphic designers under Nigo like Skate Thing would become legendary, and streetwear would become internal and sophisticated, as many of the tastemakers of yesteryear would open new ventures. Women's fashion would also undergo several different iterations, from punk styles, unbalanced looks, modernized Dekora, Shinora, Harajuku girl styles. 90s styles emerge in the mid-half of the 2010s, and Japan, no longer in the shadows, becomes the place to be for fashion, typically of the street variety. But history is a living, breathing thing. And as Japan forges its path in fashion, it's of great importance that we all understand that the world is getting so much smaller. We have so much access to culture and style, and in Japan, that is no different. And the last hurdle that Japan has is expanding its brands outside of Japan, an effort currently in the making, albeit slowly. But of course, we wait in anticipation. And this has been the history of Japanese street fashion. But there's so much more to uncover, so much more to explore. What happened to Bape? How did hip hop come to Japan? What happened to the Harajuku girl? We will explore all of that and more. In the meantime, give a thumbs up if you like this video, but most importantly, keep it locked right here for all of your info on international street fashion and culture from Tokyo. It's your boy, and keep it casual. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. We out. I'll see you guys in a minute. You can check out more videos from The Casual by checking these guys out right over here. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can even follow me personally. That's always fun, just to stay updated on the latest. But most importantly, YouTube からのアップデートのために下の丸を押してくださいませ. To stay updated on YouTube, press the circle below me.